An additional hazard that may be present in the B-post or the B-pillar is a seatbelt pretensioner. So your seatbelt systems collect at the B-post up high, and then they typically run down to the base of the B-post. Some of them are cosmetically hidden behind plastic shrouds, and some of them are exposed. If you have a large extruded area down at the base of the B-post, that's typically where your seatbelt coil is located at. The pretensioners are located on the seatbelt coils. That coil, if it's obvious through an extruded area, is very easy to identify. On some of your higher end sedans or sport vehicles, they've taken that coil and they've hidden it within the B-pillar or the B-post. To identify that, you're going to have to remove all of the cowling or cosmetic component on that B-post to identify where that seatbelt pretensioner is at. It's important not to cut into seatbelt pretensioners. Seatbelt pretensioners have multiple hazardous elements to them. Number one being a propellant. Number two, often being some form of a coiling mechanism or an inertia chamber that has steel pellets in it. If you shear that component or puncture that component when it's under pressure, there's a possibility that those steel pellets will deploy out of that pretensioner, not just with the propellant and the superheated gases that propellant produces, but also in the formation of shrapnel with those steel pellets, much like a shotgun shell. So use extreme caution around the seatbelt pretensioners. When discussing potential hazards of supplemental restraint systems beyond pretensioners and the compressed argon gas cylinders, we need to talk about the airbags themselves. There's a general rule called the 5, 10, and 20 rule. It refers to distances of expansion on specific airbag components. Typically speaking, your dual front airbags are your largest deploying bags. They take up the greatest amount of space. The passenger one being the largest one, the driver's side one being the second largest one. Remember that those front impact airbags are dual stage airbags, so they'll have two firing components to them. Your side curtain airbags deploying from the top, as well as your seat cushion or your seat side restraint cushions, are your smallest. So we're dealing with 20 for your passenger side front airbag, 10 for your driver's side front airbag, and 5 for your side implement airbags. We're advocates of saying let's use numbers that we know and give ourselves a little more margin. So let's use 6, 12, and 24. So typically speaking, it is your safest rule of thumb to approach the passenger side area with leaving a 2-foot gap between dash displacement point or dash deployment point of that airbag and possible impact point. Use the margin of 12 inches from the steering wheel for the deployment point, and use the margin of 6 inches for the side impact components.